That's right. We on the pop. Naval doesn't suck. What up? And whoa. Yo, this. Damn. This actually might be my funnest to look at Boulder Bay. Not only is it a less phallic shape, it's actually there's something about the aesthetics of this kind of African Sahara that I like. Also, why is the water so shallow? Honestly, if I'm a new player coming in, I think I can just walk across this. Especially here, I'm like, yep, that's a shallow water. Nope. All right, let's check this out, though. It looks like we're going to be checking in with some more Crackety, but different opponent. He's done having his ass spanked by Daddy Benny. It's time to see if Papa Beastie wants to turn. Beastie, oh, he's gone for the French. It's going to be English-French matchup. Woo. Don't get to say that so often these days. In fact, it's kind of fitting that we come back to Boulder Bay to say that, considering the only place we really get to say it these days is on a slight holy of holiest islands. Shout out to Adney on that one. But of course, Beastie is going to be playing as the French in the yellow, and then of course Crackety whipping out the English in the... let me know if I say this word correctly, chat. Cyan blue. Is it cyan? I've always said cyan. I've never checked. I just realized that. Should I try to be more pretentious? Cyan. It's the cyan blue. I feel like the more pretentious way is probably actually correct. But I always call it cyan blue. And speaking of Mr. Blue, he's already out on the waterfront. Same on the other side. Now, keep in mind that everything you know about Naval, throw it out the window, okay? Take your brain, detach it from your head, throw it out, get a new brain, start afresh, because Naval's different now. Times have changed. It is no longer this weird configuration of Hulk and Galley, and that's kind of it. Gosh golly, it all comes out in Field now. You get access to the Hulks, the Galleys, and the demo ships. Oh my god, French are weak then because they no longer have Hulks. No, it's just different. They've gone for the triangle counter method. So Galleys counter out demo ships counter out Hulks, and Hulks counter out Galleys. That's the configuration now. We don't talk about Carracks because, I mean, it's still who's going to build them, eh? Carracks basically are just meant to be for dealing with buildings, more or less. The other interesting part, actually, is they did keep Galleasses in. So, I'm gonna be bluntly mean here. You know Galleasses suck when they're rebalancing Naval entirely, and and the devs just say, one of the devs just goes, "Yo, what are we gonna do with the Galleys? What are we gonna do with the Galleasses? Are they not concerned?" It's like, dog, we spelled them with ass in the title for a reason. Just leave them. So you still get Galleasses at cast slates. Maybe they have an impact now, because I think Hulk's damage did get crippled in terms of what they do to buildings, if I'm not mistaken. We'll double check that when one hits the field. So Galleasses might have some viability. But overall, I'm not expecting to see a single one in this matchup. All right, anyway. Let's see how this is going to open up, because both of them have gone on to food. Look at the lay of the lands, actually, because to start this off, Crackety did get a pushed back Gold Vein, and a kind of nice spawn on his wood. So he's somewhat protected against night raids. He can quickly wall himself in. This is going to be important because Beastie, especially with the new way that Naval works, probably has more wiggle room to slide out a night or two compared to the old configuration of the French. Because if you remember, the French, it used to be, you know, go Naval or go bust. Like you know, you basically either had to build Hulks or build Knights. You couldn't really do both. It's very difficult to do both early on. But now with Hulks being so much cheaper and being a counter-type unit instead, maybe more wiggle room. I think what's really important here is like each of these units, they're a lower cost investment compared to what old Hulks were. So you have more breathing room in between like when you're able to afford, like, and when you're able to choose, right? So it used to be you had 540 resources before you could invest in a Hulk. Now you can invest in one sooner, and you have a clearer gap before you accrue the amount for the secondary one. I think the way to think about it is in the early few minutes, there is more feasibility in getting a knight or two out compared to the old Hulk price that we saw for the French before. Especially with the production speed changes as well. Some interesting points being made about like separating the villager types, fishing and land. I can kind of see that. Like thinking back, I don't feel like it ever bothered me that much from a casting perspective. Then again, maybe I'm kind of wrong. Maybe some people did hate that. I'm trying to think of like a non-ugly way of doing it, and I'm not sure more bars here is the way to go. So I think that there's just kind of this assumption that, especially with the mini-map being the way it is, right? You can quickly see if someone's got multi-TC. you can then see if they lost workers, and from there you can differentiate whether they've got like an eco lead on land versus boats. It's a bit more complicated, but one thing I want to highlight, and I think it's very important to the Capture Age team to realize it as well, and for viewers to realize it as well, is more stuff doesn't make better. Like, actually, like, so this is something I learned many years ago, not that many years ago, when I was in uni, called iterative development. It's a great way to actually make video games. There's the whole idea that you change something and then you review whether it's good or bad, right? And changing something can be removing something or adding something. So I think the tough part for the Capture Age team is they're trying to balance what info to provide and what info to hide. That's why, for example, this detail is really good. I love the fact that you have a button here to switch between workers and income. If you had workers and income plus surplus on the same screen, it's too much info. It's just an overload. It's bad. So anything they can do to kind of like funnel this data is very good, I think. So maybe there's a discussion to be had about show more, or maybe it could be via the change in the bottom left corner here. But even right now, like when I look at overview statistics, I mean, this, to me, I would love to see this just be condensed, like icons maybe, and numbers, and a smaller bar sort of thing. And even when I'm looking across at religious statistics, like, I don't know, to me, this feels like over, what's the word I'm looking for? Overspec. Like over-adjusted. Maybe you could just have this be relics and sacred sites and conversion in one small bar. But that's what I mean. So it's like whenever people like consider like whether to add more, you know, always think about whether it confuses more. So I think a discussion we had in a previous game is looking at the production tabs up here, seeing the active units and then the produce units. Until you get used to it, is very confusing because these numbers are so close together. And I'd say like the colors, although gray and white is different, like it's kind of in this similar compound of color grades, right? Anyway, let's focus on the military because it looks like a lot of Hulks coming out. The demo ship's moving in from BC though. Crafty move. He's maybe able to sneak the fishing fleet as well. Gets one of the Hulks. We'll have to back up. But the Galleys, remember, they're different now. You see they do spread damage, and this means that they actually counter out fishing pretty well. And the Hulk, in the meantime, is going to tank pretty effectively, so Crackety is going to be forced back. So only Hulks coming out from Crackety, but overall, not the worst of exchanges. The demo ship investment doesn't really pay its dues, only killing off one Hulk in the end. And the Galleys were heavily crippled, so BC is going to pull back. A nice idea, but BC really needed another demo ship in there before entering. One extra demo, I think he can do some serious damage. He at least gets the fishing fleet that way, but instead, unable to do so. Just to recap for people, Hulks, they counter out the Galleys now. And Galleys counter out demo ships. Demo ships, as you can see, most definitely counter out Hulks. Wait, what? Okay, I feel like he got scammed there. No damage done to that second Hulk is surprising, but credit where credit is due. Crackety utilized this, man the sails. It allows you to move faster for 10 seconds. I love these type of elements, by the way, being introduced. It's kind of interesting that Hulk's the only one to get it, really. But I'm a very big fan of these extra abilities. I love what we get out of some of them, and the situational usages, like, you know, if you think of Pervises for Arbalest Trier, if you think about the Khan arrows. Glad to see that when they were kind of revamping Naval, they found a pretty nice way of sliding in some micro elements on an activatable level. So I think it's much funner when you have these type of elements like mixed in instead of just putting more emphasis on clicking your units into the right location. Not trivializing what people do at the highest level, but the point is I like that it's coming from a different angle versus, I know there's been some like discussions in the past about this idea of, yeah, ranged units shouldn't be perfectly accurate. And I'm just like, do we really need to go down that avenue? I think there's more like creative things we can do. That's not to discard what AoE2 done, but you know, I think the way I kind of just described to me back then is why just duplicate what's already been done if we can come up with something different. And you know, he's not coming up with something much different. It's the demo ship exchange. BC's still hard in on it. Nice demo ship sneak in. He's going to push BC back. His fishing fleet is looking a little bit less contained, though. I feel like Crackety is starting to feel the pressure somewhat. Militarily, you can definitely see a lead building for BC. Would love to see him switch into one or two more knights than what he's got. He's now going to force a spin reaction coming out of Crackety, but this idle time alone is very crippling for Crackety. It's a good utilization of what BC has as well. Fishing means he has surplus food, so going Horseman instead of Knights means he can invest all that extra gold into Naval, and the Horsemen still achieve a similar goal to the Knights because there was nothing to defend with so far from Crackety. So Crackety just ends up with idle eco, and it ends up being a kind of snowball effect on the water side, where BC's able to utilize that gold still to great effect here. He's able to throw the food elsewhere, and he's able to build a lead because one side is idled and the other isn't. BC, man, this fleet is building. Looking like his opponents start booming. Problem right now I do see for Krakeny is still no more demo ships coming out. I mean, there's not that many Hulks. Maybe some more Galleys would make sense. He's only got one so far. I don't know if this is just an experiment by Krakeny to min-max. It's somewhat working, though. I mean, this Galley got a lot of value until it got shredded. Now, the only mistake I'm seeing out of BC so far is he's really never going beyond 2 boom ships. If he goes to 3, maybe 4 boom ships, groups them into 2 on each flank and comes in, I actually think he could sink Krakeny's fleet, especially if he engages down the center with the Galleys as well, because the Hulks won't be able to focus fire the right way. But right now, it definitely feels like Krakeny's maybe getting a bit more than he should be out of these exchanges, considering the pop cap lead that BC has. That being said, though, one big issue for Krakeny, you can see what's happening here. When he stacks his units together, the Galleys just shred on through. Whew. That's pretty impressive firepower, actually. I'm curious, have we got blacksmiths on land? We have. There it is. The balanced projectiles explains everything. So remember, the Galleys, they did get changed, right? All these units got changed now. They do spread damage, but it still bursts. So what's happened here is per Galley that BC has, he's increased their damage output by 5 because he does 5 bursts, right? So 1 range damage increase equals 5 for these Galleys. Even though it's not the 6 damage increase you got before, it's so much better than the previous Galley iteration because it's spread damage now. Right, I quite like these changes as well because I feel like Archer combat is now a lot more drastic of a change, right? Like if you don't pay attention for a second or 2, it hurts you. And the fights are over quicker, which I think is better than the old ranged exchange we had where it's like I fire arrows, you fire arrows, we all fire arrows. And 10 minutes down the line, we're still doing it. Now, if you make one mistake in a battle, you could lose half the fleet. Now, some people aren't a fan of that, but I feel like what the developers done is they took note of what like Langsneck offered in land combat for the HRE. And they said, you know, if this element of gameplay is seen as kind of stagnant and really kind of stuck in a rutty, what if there's something we can do to like evolve that? Is that good? And I think it is good. I'm a very big fan of this because I think something I've been quite vocal on is the feeling like Imperial Age, for example, on land, the reason why the macro-heavy approach kind of works is because there's I don't feel like there's any immediate shred outside of Langsneck, and it used to be Mangoes. But now naval combat has this X factor to it that makes me want to see more of it in competitive. And the demo ship's getting in deep. Reasonable damage done. More could have been done by BC, but he's stuck hard in here now. And he's willing to commit. He'll be able to sink all the fishing and sink most of the fleet as well. And actually, BC might have just taken full control of water. Hulks quickly just being disposed of here. I mean, this is the power. I think this is something they might need to reassess, is the balanced projectiles. Any range damage increase is so much more effective for Galleys than Hulks. It's kind of crazy to think that Hulks are meant to be the counter to Galleys, but with that increased DPS, I do feel like Galleys get an absurdly good exchange for what is a very low-cost research as well. Now, the argument against it is you just need to go for the projectiles yourself, right? You just need to get the defense version of the Hulks. But it seems like Krakeny didn't realize that it was in play at all until it's too late. Pretty good fight. Now Beastie will pull back just in time. In fact, wait, did they... Oh. Is that intentional? Interesting. I didn't notice that before. So Hulks don't get increased range damage off of balanced projectiles. At least the one that BC had there didn't have a number increase. Huh. I didn't expect that. But I think it makes sense because they're classified as Springle ships. And I'm trying to remember if Springle's ever got range damage increase. I feel like it's not a detail I ever looked up because it feels so irrelevant. And oh my god, these Hulks looking irrelevant against the demo ship damage now. Oof, another one goes down. They peel back, and I think Krakeny's now lost waterfront control. He just doesn't have enough to defend against the boom ships. You can see they're going to shift in range quick enough, and bye-bye, baby. 3 more Hulks going down. Somehow Krakeny keeps one alive. But now with the Knights raiding on land, I mean, this is where Krakeny's going to start to lose naval control entirely. Blacksmith upgrades only affect archer ships. Always has been. Huh. I guess I just registered that wrong in my brain then. Am I just being an idiot? Maybe it's just I'm recalling a time that never existed, but I feel like ranged armor used to affect all ships. I'm probably wrong though. I'm just probably speaking out my ass and misrecalling. My brain today is something special. Dude, I'm like a kid in a candy shop. Like I'm just info overload, all these new changes. I kind of like it, though. Like, I like kind of being wrong and rediscovering, because it was getting a little bit stale. I don't want to say knowing it all, but like knowing the numbers, so kind of having that unlock. Armor does. Okay, yeah, that's where my confusion came from then. I was pretty sure armor did affect it. And that brings me back to the point, like, if Krakeny had gone in for the armor blacksmith upgrade, he'd be able to take good exchange with the Hulks. But that extra 1 damage going through per attack really is adding up, considering Hulks only have 450 health now, compared to Galley's being at 300. So only damage affects archer ships. That must be a recent change then, because I'm pretty sure on, like, the main, it used to affect. I remember seeing, like, I'm 95% certain in the days of Lodya attack ships, I recall seeing armor plus as well as range damage plus, but maybe I'm wrong. Or non-siege units in buildings. Yeah, so all the Hulks weren't considered siege buildings though, right? But Springwall, yeah, these are now Springwall ships. That's why it doesn't work. Got it. Oh man, damn. I don't know how I feel about that then. I mean, maybe I'm just like misreading it. It's just BC is just outplaying him on a big level, but... Oh, Beastie went trade! Oh, no. Whoops. Oh, that's a costly exchange there. The trade chips are not cheap. 200 resources, much lower than it used to be at the 300 mark, but still hurts. This boom ship sneak, though, just doesn't work anymore. I love the way that Krakeny's optimized his military. Hulks just go in, and Galley's guard against the inevitable boom ships that will come out. But the problem now is on land. I mean, on land, it's unanswered. Krakeny, he got baited in. He doubled down on Navy, and little did he know that Beastie was sidestepping into the French cavalry. He baits the spearman away from the base. He idles the eco up, and there's just not enough here to protect. Krakeny is about to fall further behind. He already is behind. Just look at the eco difference here. 78 to 46. And after all that, he really didn't even get the eco on the water side that BC had. Krakeny realizes when to call it. He can't answer the Navy and the cavalry. GG gets called. Great play by BC there. I love the sidestep into French cavalry at the right moment. He didn't gluttonously go towards it straight away. Early on, he only went for 1 knight, 2 horsemen, realized the idle time would give him this snowball effect on the Navy side, and from there, he slowly built a lead. Great play.